has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. It's Ferrall on the bench, coast to coast in the biggest way possible, hanging out the bad seed, the broken day, the bad apple with a bad attitude. We are live in New York City, the Big Apple. Ooh, people dressed in plastic bags, directing traffic, some kind of fashion trade items to do me. Yeah, oh woo woo, yeah, oh woo woo. Along with the Tutty and Tater King, the founder of the Aussie podcast, the rights holder of the Sheet of Integrity, and the Put It With a Golf U.S. Open style guru himself, Carver. Hi this afternoon, ladies. Mafia is celebrating his 40th birthday today. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. And he's running it with Luke Hamilton. The rundown on a terrible towel Tuesday, a double shot with Morency from Vancouver within the walls of this hour as well. Billy Bender from the Sporting News, our college football insider. And in the second hour, Coach James Young, our basketball guru on SportsGrid and C2C. A thick afternoon, but last night in Sunrise, it was demolition derby night at the OK Corral as the champs blew out the Oilers 6-1. The over hit, the Panthers minus 135 hit. Who didn't score a goal and who didn't get in a fist fight in the last 15 minutes of that hockey game? What a melee, Carver High.
Yeah, it certainly was. Happy Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Here on Coast to Coast. It was a bit of a melee. You know, I'm all for old-time hockey. Like, we like old-time hockey. We like, line brawls. And, I did think it started to get a little stupid the last, 7 or 8 minutes of that game with some of the stuff that Edmonton was doing. What they have, 6 guys left on the bench with about 5 minutes to go. They were losing so many. But I think the biggest thing that you could take out of last night's game, and I know that, we're going to play some clips, and I heard some other guys, they're going to try to deny it, but, Florida sucked Edmonton into their game last night, Scotty, and that's why they're now down 2-1, and Edmonton can't play that way. They need to get the game fast and loose like it was in Edmonton the first coup. They don't want to be playing these, penalty-filled, grinded-out games because the Panthers just eat that stuff up.
I'll give you that, and I think that it was pretty obvious that one of the keys was keeping McDavid and Draisaitl off the score sheet. So they didn't have a point, either one of them, and everybody else did on Florida. And it was a party, except for the guy with the bleached blonde hair behind the bench with the hot blonde. Now, what happened? What happened there with that guy? She convinced him to bleach his hair the same as hers, and it was a dramatic mistake on his part because he clearly does not have blonde hair, and it really ruined the game for me. I think I tweeted it out at one point. I compared him to someone from, I think it was, Lord of the Rings. My son was the one that gave it to me. Did you see the tweet last night that I put out about the guy?
I saw it when it happened, but obviously I have circled through a lot of things since then. But luckily I can bring that up in literal seconds.
It is important that you read that because I don't hear this.
Draco Malfoy, that's from Harry Potter, right? Isn't that the Draco guy from Harry Potter?
Lord of the Rings.
You said Lord of the Rings, yeah. The guy... I'm not a Harry. I don't know anything about Harry Potter, so I'm probably butchered the guy's name, the character's name, etc. But Yeah, that's a Harry Potter reference that
It got a nice response, the tweet itself.
it did.
The game was so bad, I think my tweet was better. But anyway, I thought they looked fantastic. Now, I mean, without saying the obvious, they better win game 4 or Edmonton's finished. And this is not 3-0 last year. This is not 3-0. They go down 3-1 to this team, and they still have a shot at home in a game 6 to finish them off. Even if they were to go to Edmonton and lose game 5, I'd say they'll beat them in Sunrise in 6 and won't have to go back to Edmonton for 7. But if they do lose game 6 and have to go back to Edmonton, that's where I think the Oilers will skate, speed, power plays, and McDavid will score 2 goals and assist on 2 others, and the Edmonton Oilers will win the Stanley Cup. I think game 4 is the key game. I do not believe last night was the key game of the Stanley Cup Finals. Last night was a washout. They kicked their ass.
Look, I'm going to stick with what I've said, and that's I think it's punch back. I think that the Oilers will find a way to make it 2-2 going back. I'd obviously be a little concerned if I was an Oiler fan just because of how, Florida kind of pulled them into that type of a game. But, it's one game. And here's the other thing I probably don't think will happen Thursday night. I mean, 140 minutes of penalties, like come on. Like I said, I like the rough stuff as much as anyone, but I think that really takes away from the game. Those first 2 games were so great, and I know there were some penalties called there too, but it gets too over the top with 6,000 power plays in the game. I want to see these 2 teams play straight up 5-on-5. I think that's where we've had our best hockey in this series.
I agree, and there's nothing like the refs to ruin everything again. It's the same old song. The song remains the same. They ruin everything. Now, look, I won't deny the players were dirty last night, but it got ridiculous with the amount of power plays. What was it, 21-14?
Yeah, you can't have that. And look, it's like, where's the middle ground, right? Like, you can't have that first game where they called nothing from the second period on. Second period, third period, overtime. You don't call a penalty. You don't do anything. And then you have a game where you're calling a penalty every 2 minutes. Like, there's got to be some middle ground here for these guys. And we always say the NHL refs do the best job out of any of the others. For the most part, they do the best job. But I think it was a little over the top.
But now they hate each other's guts, and it's turned violent.
Yeah,
and there's no way that those lingering feelings aren't going to rear their ugly head again. I believe that the same guys are going to get into it. How about your boy Perry? I like him. The way he handles his business. First, he comes up and slashes the back of your knee. Then he spears you from the front in your onions. Then he drops the gloves and starts punching you in the face. Like, the guy is an assassin. He comes in, starts carving people up like he's at the, prime rib table at the wedding. Your guy's out there cutting people and spearing people. He means business. You do not want to mess with the old man's strength. We have had this discussion before.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with it. That's for sure. So we'll do lots of Stanley Cup final today. NFL mandatory minicamps, not mandatory for some, including TJ Watt. A lot of guys passing on the mandatory minicamp here over contract disputes this week. We'll go through all of that. Of course, we're still a day away from the NBA tomorrow night. We've got all the baseball from last night and tonight that we have to get to. Some great extra inning games last night. And don't forget the U.S. Open at Oakmont. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
I have heard stories
I can't wait
that they ruined the golf course, that they cut down all the trees.
Can't have that.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks really got past that playoff dragon for them that really stood in their way. So for the New York Knicks to be the Celtics and then an outright favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals, that's where the disappointment is.
The goalposts got moved, right? Because when you went into the Celtics series, a lot of Knicks fans said they weren't going to beat it. I'll say this is more unprecedented than the 99 run when they were the 8th seed.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Face. It's the new face. New face of what? The hell are you talking about? Like seriously. Oh, the new face of the NBA, Anthony. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, really? Guy's got 2 shots. You're the face of the NBA. Slow down. He's a good player. I've always thought the whole face of the NBA thing was comical. You want him to be the face of the NBA because you don't like it that all the other faces of the NBA aren't American.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Catch Sports Rage weeknights at 10 on all of our TV and radio outlets. We get Morency for a double shot, thank God, every day from Vancouver at the beginning of the show here. So our overtime bet didn't hit, but I had the Panthers last night minus $1.35 and the over. What did you think of the game and all the violence?
Well, you know what? I think that you and Mike went over it pretty well. There's not really much to add. Listen, the Oilers are a physical team, right? The Oilers have a lot of big dudes. The Oilers can play a rough style of hockey. But last night, they just got carried away. And we saw this. We've seen this in the past with them. I've talked about that Dallas Star game that they lost. The same thing happened. They lost control. They lost their composure for about 10 minutes and ended up losing the hockey game. Last night, they lost their composure for about 50 minutes of the 60 minutes.
Right.
Like, dude, Scott, like the first period, okay, so you're trying to win the Stanley Cup. How do you win the Stanley Cup if you spend 8 of the first 20 minutes playing shorthanded? Like, how are you going to win? Like, I'll be the coach right now and talk to the team in the room. I'll say, guys, like, dude, Evander Kane took 2 penalties in the first period. Corey Perry took a penalty. There was another one. It was constant. It's like we're constantly shorthanded, guys. And as soon as, like, and how many times have you seen in this series that the Oilers are on a power play and somebody will take a penalty while they're on the power play, Scott?
Yeah.
Like, McDavid even did it. Like, it's like, guys, stop worrying about the little one-on-one battles. You're losing them. Just deal with it. Worry about putting the puck in the net. You saw in the first 2 games, and I know they split, but you saw in the first 2 games, the Panthers were the ones, Scott, doing stupid things, running the goalie in the penalty box. And remember, Kachuk and Bennett were laughing in the penalty box after they ran into the goalie. They weren't laughing after the Oilers scored, right? And, like, if you're the Oilers, that's how you pay them back. Eventually the refs will call the Panthers for a penalty, get on the power play. But another thing, truth be told, is the Oilers' power play really hasn't been all that good in this series. It really hasn't. And I think it's a lot to do with just how good Florida's penalty kill is. And also, Scott, Skinner was great in the first 2 games. All right. Like, I mean, those overtime games, he made 1,000,000 saves. But there's a pattern now. I think he's given up a goal on like 4 straight breakaways.
I know he's getting burned on breakaways. That Bennett goal, he made him look terrible.
Yeah, like every time there's a breakaway, they score. Like, it's not like, oh, okay, like every time there's a breakaway, you almost know, oh, God, they're going to score. And then they do. It's like, dude, you've got to stop these. Like, you've got to stop them. And there was the, oh, wow, the defenseman got a stick on it and the puck slowed down and it threw him off. No, whatever, dude. And, okay, Marchand beats him. Marchand keeps beating him all the time on a breakaway, right? There was, I think Reinhardt scored top shelf. That was impossible to stop. No one's stopping that. So Skinner's got to be better. I go back to him, though, Scott. I think Skinner will be fine, but he's got to stop making a couple of more saves early in these games. They can't fall behind. They can't dig themselves a hole. And I do 100% agree with you. The series sort of started last night, Scott. You know what I mean? Like the first 2 games, okay, these teams are so resilient. It's not a must win. Edmonton need to win. Like, they're not winning the Stanley Cup if they're down 3-1. Just point blank. It'll, maybe they'll go back home to Edmonton and squeeze it out and then go back to Sunrise and lose. Right?
Yeah,
like,
what if they win? What if they actually snap out of last night's funk, which they were clearly in deep water? What if they show up on Thursday night and actually say, screw you, and win the game, and then go home for a game 5 and get back to their speed, 5th gear?
They're going to have to find a way to win 2 games in a row. Winning 1 game won't be enough anymore, right? You just nailed it. They got to find a way to win multiple games in a row now in this series. I get the feeling, listen, is this not going 7? I'm not going to, the Edmonton Oilers lost last night, and this sounds cliche, guys, but let's recall and let's not forget. Last year, the Oilers beat them 8-1 in one of the games. All right. It happens. You see it in the NBA. It happens less in the NHL. So it's a little bit more jarring. And everyone's emotional in the playoffs. When you win, you're so high. When you're low, when you lose, you're so low. You've got to sort of keep even keeled, even if you're a fan or a bettor through this. But, to me, I mean, this is just, this is going to go the distance again. I think Edmonton will bounce back, and then suddenly we're going to have a best of 2 or 3. But if you're Edmonton, Florida is so damn good, Scott, you have to be ahead of them. Like, if Edmonton are down 3-2 in the series, I don't think they're going to win. Like, if they're up 3-2 in the series, they have a chance to win, right? Like, Florida, you have to be up multiple goals in the games. You have to be up multiple games in the series with them. Like, if the game is tied, if the game is tied, you're losing with these guys, basically.
So what do you think of Bobrovsky? I think he's better than Skinner. He had the back-to-back 40-plus. Then he had 32. He has stopped breakaways, whereas Skinner hasn't.
Yeah, he really has, Scott. He has been better than Skinner in this series. And, Bobrovsky can be streaky. Like, if you get to him, he can't have a bad game. But he's been pretty even-keeled here. He's made a lot of really big saves. But at the same point in time, like last night, it was one of the most – it's very deceptive. You look at the shots on goal, I think it was like 32-31. Yeah, okay, not really. Like, the Oilers, like, they get shots, but they're not getting legitimate good scoring opportunities, the Oilers. There's a lot of shots that are getting blocked. There's a lot of shots that are, they're just not good scoring opportunity shots like the Panthers get and bury all the time. And the Oilers got way too individualistic last night, like early in the game. Like, Connor started to try to out-deke 3 people all the time. Draisaitl, the same thing. And let's call it out for what it is, Scott. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were invisible last night.
Invisible.
They were ghost. They weren't there.
So yesterday we showed a clip of Halliburton with his hat on backwards at the press conference. Did you happen to catch me saying that it looked like you? We had you dead to rights yesterday. I said, that's not Halliburton, that's Morency. And he was looking down at the score sheet. He had the hat on backwards. It looked just like you, despite the goatee. We were talking about...
because I think I'm still a little pale. I got to get some more sun now that summertime's rolling on,
You did say it's been nice in Vancouver lately. You got to get out in the sun. The other day you were complaining about going to the Apple store. It was too sunny out for you.
I got to go back.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
So a lot of guys have been blowing off their mini camps and such in the NFL. Your guy Cooks for the Bills, I thought he had a great line. They asked him why he showed up without a contract. He said, "I like my money, and I love guys that just admit that they're all about the money. I love guys that just say, I did it for the cash." I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And then all the guys that didn't show up, like TJ Watt, et cetera, there's a lot of guys that aren't showing up. And then Rodgers' contract, real quick, 13.6, 10 mil signing bonus, 14.1 cap hit, 5.8 incentive package, 500 grand for a playoff berth, 600 grand for a wild card win, 750 for a divisional win, $1 million for a conference championship, $1.5 million for a Super Bowl win, and a league MVP, $1.5 million. Does any of that hit? Does any of that hit a playoff berth at the least? Does that hit for him?
I think they're going to be in the mix for a playoff berth. Their season win total is 8.5. So the odds makers kind of see them on the outside looking in. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC. It's a very team-friendly contract. I don't have a problem paying Aaron Rodgers this type of money, or the incentives or whatever. If you get there, that's even better. But as far as the $14 million cap hit, I don't have a problem with that. As far as the holdout, Scott, TJ Watt, obviously a critical player. I mean, he's your best player, the Pittsburgh Steelers' best player. From what I understand, and listen, I'm not in the room, but from what I hear from like smart people that do cover the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that they're actually talking. Right. There's a progression to it. They're talking, they're negotiating. And the plan is there's no panic with him. I think the Cincinnati situation is completely different. I mean, they don't really have any money left anymore after paying everybody. They don't like paying people to begin with. So if the Watt situation, I don't think is a big deal, Scott. I think it's just they're going to get it done over time. McLaurin is interesting in Washington. He's been a loyal soldier there. They haven't been very good over the years. He's been the one consistent. And now he sees everybody else getting paid around him and then bringing in new dudes that are getting paid. So I think they'll handle that as well. The Cincinnati situation with Henderson, that's the one to keep our eye on, guys, because they're the Bengals. And hell, they haven't even signed their first-round draft pick yet, who incidentally has the same agent as Cook of the Bills does, which isn't a great, like this agent he really likes to push teams as far as they'll go. But the Bengals situation, if I was a Bengals fan, I don't know if he's going to be playing for you this year. Everyone else, I don't think there's a big deal, Scott.
Hendrickson,
McLaurin
now
will get paid.
What about
Watts
Cook?
get paid.
Is he going to get his money, Cook? And did you like what he said about "I want my money"?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. These mini camps are stupid anyways, so I don't have a problem with him. He deserves to get paid. I don't have a problem with players who want to get paid, and it's way too early to start to panic about it, right? You know what I'm saying? This is the problem. If he's not there on August, if he's not there in the preseason, we got a problem, right? But right now, and he is there, I don't really want to get too overly concerned about these stories, Scott. Every year, players are unhappy, and every year things get worked out, right? This
What
is just the
about
way to do this.
Stroud? What about Stroud's shoulder? He's throwing, but do you believe he's got a shoulder problem or not? And then what about Tua? Like, he's constantly a worry for the Dolphins fans.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, actually, Scott. It is not the theme. If there's one thing, and I know it's early, so I don't want to get too carried away with this stuff. Like, is it just talk show fodder, or is it real concern? But there's a lot of quarterbacks that have gone down already, guys. Like Anthony Richardson. Good. I mean, just quickly, Scott, you bring it up. Like Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, Danny No Dimes is on the Colts now. You can get plus money. He's going to be the starting quarterback. Richardson's already hurt. Like, he'll get hurt again. Like, Jones will be the starting quarterback. There's all kinds of guys with, like, now Trevor Lawrence. They're saying, oh, it's not a concern. It's just a little bit of a this or that. But hey, if I was the Houston Texans, I would be concerned if Stroud hurt his fingernail, Scott. Like, he's their franchise.
Season go down the drain without him.
Exactly. So I'd be very concerned about any injury with Stroud and take it day by day with that.
Who are you betting on in that game Saturday, since you follow it so much, that D.C. Michigan game in the UFL?
Oh, I got them both wrong this weekend, Scott. I'm a little bit rattled by that. As somebody that follows it. So at least I'm honest. I had Birmingham. I got to go with Michigan. Got to go with the Michigan Panthers. I'm really surprised that D.C. beat St. Louis in St. Louis.
All right, D.C. against Michigan.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
let's go back to Sunrise from last night, Carver High.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Of course, Edmonton loses this first game on the road for them in Florida 6-1. Panthers get it done. They take a 2-1 series lead in the Stanley Cup final. 2 goals in the first for the Panthers, including Marchand again, who got things going. Verhaeghe had a power play goal as well. Edmonton got one back with Corey Perry, but then the Panthers took control and never looked back in the second period. Sam Reinhart and Bennett both getting it done for the Panthers on Panthers radio.
Klingberg, far corner, bumped down by Barkov. A battle for a loose puck. Panthers have it. Reinhart, a shot, he scores! Out of the far circle, off the iron and in. Sam Reinhart gets the Panthers up by a pair once again. Exactly 3 minutes into period number 2. 3-1 Panthers. Sam Reinhart. And then Kachuk in against Klingberg. Puck played to the line. And it's taken away. A breakaway. Luostarinen hands it on. Bennett in. Bennett scores! Top shelf, and the Panthers take a 4-1 lead with 12:34 to go here in the second. What a shift for playoff Sam. The Panthers lead by a trio.
So Bennett came in and deked him right, then went left and went upstairs and shoveled it up top. Great move, and he had Skinner dead to rights. And at that point, it was game over. I mean, it was game over because they're the champs. They're not chumps. They don't blow, 3-goal leads. When it was 2-1, Edmonton had a shot. But when it was 3-1, right after that, it was like a minute or two after that, they made it 3-1, and then they get the 4-1, and then it sat at 5-1 forever. I was like, all I cared about was the over. At that point, because I knew they were going to win and cover the 135. So I needed both, and I got it on the Rodriguez, right? Didn't he have the last goal? I think he did.
Yes, he did. Power play goal for him. Of course, the entire game was pretty much somebody being on the power play. That's because the Panthers had all in total 11 power play opportunities in the game. They were 3 for 11 with the extra man. The Oilers had 6. They were 1 for 6 with the extra man. But it all added up to 140 combined penalty minutes.
What
that
a
is
mess.
the fourth most in Stanley Cup final history and the most in any Stanley Cup final game since '88. So it's been a long time since you saw a game with this much.
I got to tell you, so a couple things came across my mind about this. One was my father, who turned me on to hockey and took me to a million hockey games and Stanley Cup finals. And then I took him to Stanley Cup finals. I think I went to a Stanley Cup final with Mafia too. Anyway, he used to call it the National Hokum League. You remember when I used to tell you that? He'd call it the National Hokum League because last night that game turned into the National Hokum League. And meaning that I guarantee you Gary Bettman had agita. I guarantee you he had heartburn watching the last, 15 minutes of that game. But I mean, there were fights breaking out all over the ice. I thought it was a really bad look for the NHL. I love fights. I like legitimate fights. Like, okay, 2 guys really have had enough of each other, and they drop the gloves and brawl, hold on to each other's jerseys, jack a couple of rabbits, and then they pull them apart. But when you see 10 guys fighting at once, and they're sprawled out all over the ice in the neutral zone and in one end and the other, I think it's a bad look for the Stanley Cup Finals. It was the first game was erotic. The second game was just magnificent, and this game was kind of an abortion. And then to end it with that look, that scene, it was like a bloodbath. It was awful. I think for Bettman, I guarantee he hated it.
Yeah, Gary, as we know.
I know him, and I guarantee he hated it.
Gary doesn't like that stuff. He doesn't like the fighting. He doesn't like when the game gets out of control like that. So Gary was in the building, of course. So I'm sure that he wasn't thrilled with what was going on. It's funny. I'll bring something else up with Gary because I saw it last night, and I meant to put it on the list. Did you see him? I guess it was with the intermission.
Yeah,
he
giving
was
the
on
business to Bissonnette.
Now, Bissonnette was actually bringing up something that me and you and even Gabe, we've all talked about here on this show, and that's that Florida tax situation and if it's helpful. And Gary basically looked at Bissonnette and said it was total nonsense, that it's not true, that doesn't exist. Why nobody brought it up when the Florida teams were bad? He says nothing. There's nothing that's going to happen because it's just not true that they get an advantage because.
Well, he didn't like it at all, but I thought the retort of him starting to talk about his outfits and his look and how he looks all disheveled, shows up, he hasn't shaved in 2 months, and he's on, basically. Let's face facts. I mean, you're on TNT doing the Stanley Cup Finals. He looks like he just left a bar. And Bettman said something about it. Like, you look like a bum. And you dress like one, too. And then they were all and you see Henrik Lundqvist sitting over there wearing $2,000 suits, looking like he's going to go out and get a piece. Your boy, and then Gretzky. I mean, honestly, I'm going to just say it because I'm mean. I'm not nice. I'm watching the game last night. You know what my daughter said to me? She walked in the room. She said, "That guy looks like a cat." You know what they mean? You know what they mean when they look like a cat, don't you? Have you seen his wife and him together? They look like they're from the same litter. They got those shots in their face so much you look like a cat. You got so much Botox, you look like a cat. Now, I am mean enough to say this, and I just want to say that I have no trouble at all doing it. I don't do that stuff. I'm old, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I play ball. If you don't like the way I look, have a sandwich. But you'll never see me look like a cat. He looks like a cat. Your boy. Don't even tell me I'm wrong, Carver High, right now. Just admit it.
Wayne's had some work done.
Some bad work. He needs to stop going to doctors in Edmonton. Go back to Los Angeles.
I actually think he's more of he's a South Florida guy now. Like, this is like a home game for him. Like you gotta remember him. He rolls around DJ's got that big mansion down there, and Paulina,
DJ Jazzy Jeff.
And I think that he likes spending time down at that compound playing golf. I think that's really where Wayne's at.
Waldo was there last night. I know that. I know. I got a Waldo sighting.
I saw the video. So Waldo was in the house. I don't think Wayne goes to Edmonton too much anymore. I think he's only there like he was for games 1 and 2 in a Stanley Cup final. He's a South Florida cat.
Maybe they could get Waldo that same doctor for some work.
You talk about looking disheveled. Waldo was all over the place last night at that arena. We love Waldo. Waldo's the man. All right.
Speaking of not shaving for 2 months.
He does that too. All right, we'll come back. I've got McDavid. Actually, you've got Bill Bender. So we'll talk to Bill. You'll talk to Bill Bender first. And then later on, I'll give you McDavid. And, man, that Evander Kane, here's an idea, Vander. I know he's all upset about the refs. How about not hit people with your stick when they're laying on the ground? Like, honestly, he took 2 awful penalties to start the game. Then he's hitting the guy in the face with the stick at the end. Calm down, Evander. Complain about the refs.
Like I said, Perry handles his business. You don't mess with this guy, Kane. He'll cut your head off, like right on the ice. But honestly, you have to admit, how does 17, 18, my daughter? He looks like a cat. She has no clue who Wayne Gretzky is. She goes, that guy looks like a cat. Because he was talking on TV and his face was on TV. And he looks like a cat. I was
He just wants it to end so he can go join DJ at Oakmont. He wants to get over there. I don't know if DJ will be there all weekend, but we'll see how it goes for him.
That's his guy, but he won at Oakmont in 2016,
he
DJ.
Did. He won there.
If we had Big Shot Bob for Robert Horry, what are we calling Tyrese Halliburton? Because Big Shot Bob would give you 1 a postseason. This guy's giving you 3 in 3 rounds. What a performance down the stretch by Halliburton and the entirety of that team sticking together staying to the plan and shocking everyone in the fourth quarter again.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Not that we have control of any sport. Baseball, you can breathe. The pitcher steps off the mound, even at the bottom of the ninth, World Series or whatever. Football, okay, first down. Then you second down. And there's a method to it, right? The hockey is just all out reactionary, crazy, puck bouncing around everywhere. Oh my God. There's always like a scoring chance.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to back 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, Bill Bender from the Sporting News, our college football insider, joins us today. We wanted to talk about a couple things. One, this settlement that came down on Friday, where they basically said, in not so many words, am I right, that it's a salary cap for schools now to pay college athletes, right? Is that about right? And then they also said, secondly, that from 2016 on, they're going to spend almost $3 billion of back pay to guys that played in that window. And I mean, how'd you like to get that letter in the mail that they were sending you a couple $1 million? I'd almost keel over. That's better than the IRS owes you money. I mean, honestly, can you explain both situations for us and clear it up a little bit? I think people are confused because there's NIL money for athletes, and now they're saying they're going to pay the athletes. I mean, what's the difference?
Well, the NIL is the supplement, or the side hustle, essentially. If you and I have my job, and then if I do another job, freelance, basically, that's the NIL money. So each school, the 21 million is the startup, and they'll distribute that. That's the question I have is, how do they distribute that? Is that all going to football? What percentage goes where? And then the NIL opportunities will be enforced by they'd sought out an independent firm to police those, essentially. So there's a guardrail that we always talk about. And then, we'll see how this goes in 5 years. I mean, on one hand, I think it's a good step toward getting athletes one step closer to employment status. On the other, if this doesn't work, who knows what the financial system of college football will look like in 5 years.
So let me ask you this question. Cooper Flagg allegedly made $28 million at Duke. Am I supposed to believe that? And if that's the case, how in God's name is that possible? And there's some kind of outfit that's going to police NIL money? Looks like they've been doing a really good job with it so far. How about the kid at BYU that's going to play basketball? They allege he's getting $7 million. I don't believe that for 1 minute, that the Mormons are giving him $7 million. Maybe 2 or 3. I don't buy 7. But has there been any stopping it in terms of how much these guys and girls have been getting up till this point?
Or what's the stopping point would be my question. If somebody's making $28 million to play 1 year of college basketball, what are we doing? And I thought today, if you look at Shamar Stewart's comments with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think we'll see more of that. One of our more popular stories at Sporting News today is a story about holdouts. You know, who's showing up for mini camps and who's not, and who wants a new contract. And that's going to be rooted when the college guys are making more than the pro guys, which could be the case in some cases. Then what are we doing? And the other question I want to know, Scott, is can we see what they're making? Because you and I, we can talk about which NFL guys are making too much money, not enough money. You get the idea. Can we do that with college athletes now? And is it fair game? It should be fair game.
I think it should be mandatory that we know exactly what they make, because otherwise, isn't it in some semblance the wild, wild west? They can do whatever they want and get away with it. Meanwhile, they, let's just face facts. Like, they've been going after Michigan now for, a few years. They went after Harbaugh repeatedly. Now they're after more. The NCAA is after whoever they want, but yet they got kids making $28 million to play one season of college basketball. Why would you ever go pro? What would he have gotten this year? $45 million? Like, honestly, if he would have stayed at Duke, I don't understand the way they police that. They're still after Michigan. They just suspended Moore, didn't they? I mean, what are they going after him for this sideline signal nonsense that's it's like a cold? It went away a long time ago.
Yeah, we're on year 3 of that now. And
it's ridiculous.
How can we take, how are we going to take the NCAA seriously, and what is serious? So I'll use the example of Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. What do you honestly think he's worth? And I've had this argument before where, I don't think he should be making more than, say, a rookie wide receiver in the NFL, but he might be worth more to Ohio State than he might be to that NFL team for 2 years. So those numbers are going to get pretty high. I do think the House settlement also shows, okay, what schools can handle this $21 million and then can afford to supplement on top of it. And then at what point are we just playing the NFL? I can't imagine the NFL having a 2-tiered way of paying athletes. I guess endorsements are that, but that's different to me. We'll see how, like I said, we'll see how it works. We'll see what schools are capable of doing it. There's been a lot of questions about Olympic sports. Will this impact their future? I don't think it will in the short term, but, who knows?
Do you like this, or did you like that? I actually, and now people say I'm crazy, but you already know that. But my point is, I liked it better when they got a scholarship and they actually went to class. Because I always tell the story. I was at Indiana for Bob Knight. If you missed a class, you never played again. You never missed a class under that guy once. 100% graduation rate in 30 years. That's all that needs to be said. Nowadays, none of these kids go to class. Why would you go to class if they're paying you $2 million to play football at Oklahoma?
And what about the coaches? I bet if the coaches, if you gave them truth serum, they'd want to do it that way, Scott. They'd do it the old way, where it was scholarship. You go to class. Maybe there's bagmen. They give them money, maybe allegedly, whatever. But
catch me if you can.
Right. Then it doesn't land in their office. And if they get caught, they get caught. But I think those old days are gone. And, there's a business side to football and there's a football side to football. And separating the two is getting harder and harder to do. And, Friday maybe brings us one step closer to merging those two. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, because I think they've already done a wonderful job of ruining college sports. I think the games are awesome. The teams are awesome. The matchups are awesome. The playoffs awesome. This money grab, this money deal, this NIL, and now paying them, it's a mess.
If we had Big Shot Bob for Robert Horry, what are we calling Tyrese Halliburton? Because Big Shot Bob would give you one a postseason. This guy's giving you 3 in 3 rounds. What a performance down the stretch by Halliburton and the entirety of that team sticking together, staying to the plan, and shocking everyone in the fourth quarter again.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Not that we have control of any sport. Baseball, you can breathe. The pitcher steps off the mound, even at the bottom of the ninth, World Series or whatever. Football, okay, first down. Then you second down, and there's a method to it, right? The hockey is just all out reactionary, crazy, puck bouncing around everywhere. Oh my God, there's always like a scoring chance.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Guess we'll have to put that Aaron Rodgers story into the NFL section today, Carver High, later in the show with some startling news about the Steelers' new quarterback coming in, but it has not received Luke clearance of Spew News release.
Yeah, it's got to get through several levels to get there, and usually I'm like the last line of defense.
Right.
If it gets to me, I obviously am making the final decision on if it's Spew News worthy or not, but it didn't even get past.
You're like Ed Asner on Mary Tyler Moore. I've always said that to people. I said, he's Ed Asner.
It just never got to me, so I couldn't make the decision. I support his decision because I probably would have done the same thing and put it on the floor until later. So that's what we're going to do. All right, let's do the rest of the Stanley Cup now here. Here's Connor McDavid.
Everybody
of
loves
course.
hockey.
Wasn't a lot of room for him last night, considering it was all penalty kills, power plays, all over the place for both of these teams. They need to regroup and get ready for Game 4.
That was a weird game. Obviously when you start in the first with, 4 penalties, almost half the period you're killing. So not a good way to get into your game. Weird game. I thought a lot of power play and penalty kill either way. Never got to our game.
How do you assess the team's overall performance?
Yeah, obviously it wasn't our best, not our best at all. I don't think our best has shown up all series long, but it's coming. Shift the focus to finding a way to get a win in Game 4.
Yeah, so I thought they looked really good, down 3-1 in Game 1 to win 4-3 in overtime, and he looked fantastic with the equalizer helper and the game-winning helper, and they looked fantastic. And let's face facts, they were every bit in that second game. They had a breakaway in the overtime, the first overtime, that would have won it, and Bob stopped them. So the Oilers had a chance to have a 2-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals, and Marchand made sure that didn't happen with the double overtime goal. So I don't believe him. I think the Oilers looked really good in the first 2 games. They just didn't win them both. And then last night, they looked like crap.
They certainly did look like crap. Now, we mentioned earlier Evander Kane. Let's just say that he really wasn't a fan of how the game was called last night by the referees.
The game obviously got out of hand at the end there. That stuff is going to happen. I mean,
you look at some of the calls and whatnot. Obviously, some of them are frustrating. They seem to get away with it more than we do.
Why are they frustrated?
They seem to get away with it more than we do. I mean, it's tough to find the line. They're doing just as much stuff as we are. It was 4-4 at the end of it, and then it gets out of hand, and there seems to be a little bit more attention in our group.
Yeah, I actually don't think that's going to get him fined, because he just basically said they got away with it and we didn't. They did as much as we did, which they did. I mean, let's stop with all this. The Panthers are choir boys. Like, they play dirty. They play very physical wall hockey. I call it wall hockey. They're in the corners digging. They're along the walls. They're pounding you into the glass. They'll knock you into the bench. They will level you in the neutral zone with a cheap shot. They'll do anything. They did it to McDavid last night. They are as dirty as Edmonton. Flip a coin. Which side? They both are very physical and big and strong. I don't want to hear it. In fact, can they just – I thought they did such a horrible job last night of controlling that game. It got so out of hand. Blame yourselves. Look in the mirror, the refs. Now, look, I've always said they're the best in sports because the rest of them are so horrible that the NHL guys actually look good doing it, because they don't look as bad as these other sports, these umps, these refs in the NBA. The NFL refs are absurd. They're so terrible and so old. And that's the thing. They have all these geriatric refs. But the NHL refs actually do a really good job. But last night, it slipped through their fingers. They let it get away from them. It's their fault. They called so many G-damn penalties, it got out of control. So I think the players should be able to say whatever they want after the game. It's the Stanley Cup Finals. This isn't a church choir and we're going to a wedding.
Yeah, the Panthers have their share of guys, too. Look, Bennett has had some borderline questionable hits, obviously, throughout. He's an actor. Kachuk's got his moments, too. He's no choir
Kachuk
boy
is
either.
filthy. He's a garbage man.
Falcons are actually relieved that he's kind of not there to create more of a distraction. Look, I mean, I said it the day it happened. It was one of the stupider decisions I've ever seen by a professional NFL franchise to sign a quarterback to a $180 million contract and then draft his replacement exactly 5 weeks later. This was a terrible organizational decision by the Falcons. Now, they're going to spin this, and this is what's annoying about the Falcons and their PR staff. They're going to spin this as if this is the plan we had all along. This is the plan that when, Kirk Cousins either got hurt or didn't play well or got too old, we were going to have Penix come in. And guess what? The new plan is now we're going to keep Kirk Cousins as a backup. So if Michael Penix gets hurt, we told you so. We were right for keeping him on the roster. We were smart for keeping him here. No, this whole thing has been an abject disaster.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.